K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
All right, folks. Well, it is Thursday, the day before Friday. We finally made it. This is America Off the Rails. Of course, it is just a couple minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock right here in beautiful downtown Oklahoma City. You know it works. Here in a minute, we'll be taking a break. Do want to give a shout-out to the affiliates real quick. So I want to mention AMFM247.com, High Point Radio out of New Jersey, Leading Edge Radio Network, Red State Talk Radio, SHR Media, the Spark Radio Network, of course, can't really count them as an affiliate because I own it, but hey, and then, of course, K98Talk.com, the place that started it all. Now, here in just a little bit, technical issues notwithstanding, hopefully we'll have Patrick Fornari here with us here in just a couple of minutes. Been trying to get a hold of him for a little bit. Not having much luck, but we're going to keep trying. Never fear. Either way, I have a lot to talk about. Now, before I take the break, I'm going to take things local for just a couple seconds. First of all, Cruz was here today. Pretty good feedback for that. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute when we come back from the break. But in sad news, for those of you local to Oklahoma, you may be familiar with the name Reed Mullins. He's been in radio for decades. Started on places like The Cat locally, and then at some point did move into talk radio. I myself listened to him for years on KTOK, and then when he moved over to 1520, and then eventually over to the Eagle, and then eventually did retire. Reed has been having some health issues for the past several months. Now, I have to admit, I never actually got a chance to meet him in person. But once the radio station really started growing, I started reaching out to folks that had done this type of stuff before, getting advice, asking questions, and he was always one of the ones that anytime I had a question, he would get back to me within a matter of a day or so, give me his take on a few things, even made some suggestions that have helped me get to the point where I am now about marketing this show and the others. And sadly, today I have to report that he is currently in ICU. For those of you who may want to send him flowers or cards or well wishes or anything like that here in the Oklahoma City area, I know that right now he's restricted from receiving any visitors at all. Anything else, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave to the family to tell you whether or not they decide they want to release the information. I can only tell you that all I ask for you right now is, whether you know Reed or not, take a moment, bow your head, positive thoughts, prayers, whatever it is that you can do, because like I said, I never got a chance to know him personally. We were going to hook up at SLRC or SRLC, and we never got the chance because he wasn't feeling well. I still am really sad about that, because he had agreed to let me interview him, which would have been amazing. But he wasn't feeling well even then. So I want you guys, just if you can, while we're at break, take a second, positive thoughts, prayers, mojo, whatever you got, send it to him and his family, because he's an amazing guy. I mean, and I don't even know him that well personally. So if I'm telling you that, imagine how impactful he's been to the folks that he actually does know personally. So I'm going to get off my soapbox here. We're going to take a little bit of break, see if I can get a hold of Patrick, and then we'll be right back here with the start of the show here in just a second. Except I have misplaced what I was going to play. Oh, there we go. All right, we'll be right back, folks. Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the
certain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those who will take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, we're back. Of course, this is the beginning of the show, and wouldn't you know it, third time I've tried to have Patrick on now, and apparently we're having some sort of technical difficulties because I'm calling him, and he's not getting the call. So at this point, we're going to keep muddling through here for just a minute while we see if we can get this sorted out. Again, just want to give a little bit of a shout-out to the Mullins family, let them know that, of course, we're pulling for them. I've been praying all day, off and on, pretty much every chance I get, just for a full recovery for Reed. The scary thing is it's a pretty similar situation to one my father-in-law went through recently. So it's really kind of hit home for me in more ways than one, which is why I'm a little more flustered than I am usually about these technical issues that we seem to be having. It's just been kind of an interesting day all the way around. But at this point, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to call an audible. I'm going to go ahead and play some commercials, see if I can get a hold of Patrick one way or the other, and see if we can get him on with us. And if not, I will just have to muddle through without him. So we're going to go ahead and take the break really early. And then if we can get him, of course, we'll stay on for the remainder of the show, and we'll have already paid the bills. So we'll be right back.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a long lost friend.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members, of their families or their children, asking them to deploy, patrol, stay on watch, on point, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to bring them all the way home, to keep them secure, to have their backs for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs do whatever it takes to help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Find out how you can help at findwwp.org.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty conservative,
where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
anyway.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant and let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Calls. We got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political courageous will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets.
All right, folks. Well, things have been a little out of the ordinary today. We took the break about 15 minutes early by the time it was all said and done. But at this point, Host Monkey 0, Rick 1, because, you know, the Gremlins tried to get me again. I finally figured out what was going on. We do have Patrick with us now. Good evening, sir. I know you've been sitting there listening to me going, I can hear you. Why are you not calling me?
I'm glad you got through, Rick. How the heck are you doing?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's been a bit of a difficult day. And the only reason I can think of that this is actually hitting me as hard as it is because, like I said, I've never actually met Reed Mullins in person, but we've spent the last few months talking over social media, kind of like you and I have always done. But I think one of the reasons it's hit me as hard as it has is because this is exactly the same path my father-in-law took right before he passed. He went into ICU with the same type of failures, and they managed to stabilize him for a while, and he got about another year and a half, and then eventually it just went into full renal failure, and that was it. So I think that's part of the reason why I'm a little flustered today, is just the complete similarities between the two situations. But I will muddle through. So how are you? Let's stop talking about such blah things.
I'm doing great.
So I did happen to catch an interview that you did on another talk show. You did pretty well over there. Not that I'm surprised by that at all. But it was pretty interesting to hear somebody else interview, because I was like, why didn't I ask him that question? But oh well.
Well, that was a long interview, and I do a lot of interviews, and I'm very thankful to you and to stations like you and to the people at Red State, because people have given me the opportunity in a kind of in an arena where we can have these long conversations, develop the ideas, develop the themes, and do some commentary that does make some sense. And it's much. I've done plenty of the 6 and 8, 10-minute interviews, and from being on radio, they go like a split second. It feels like you've been talking for 15 seconds. It's incredible how the time goes. So I really appreciate everybody that has given me a chance to talk about my book, Commoner Sense, and comment on, this crazy political world that we're all living in right now.
Yeah, I did. My honest first experience with the whole 10 to 15 minutes to do an interview was at the recent Southern Republican Leadership Conference, because we had folks, then we would get things lined up with them, and they'd be like, the most time we can give you is 15 minutes. So, I mean, it got to the point where by the time we got everything set up and we were ready to go live, it just got to the point where it was easier just to pre-record the interviews and play them later, because it was like one right after the other, and the most you could get was 15 minutes if you were lucky. I much prefer this type of format, where we can basically just sit back, have a talk, and give everybody a chance to actually hear what it is that whoever the guest is wants to say. And it just seems to me this format works much better than the whole let's try to cram an hour's worth of a conversation into 15 minutes. I don't like that approach very much.
Yeah, I agree. And even after a lengthy interview, there's things you always say, well, I should have said this, I should have said that, but that isn't the nature of radio. Obviously, nothing's perfect. The conversation continues, and that's one of the really great things about it. As events develop, radio sticks right with it. I mean, I know there's a lot of people, probably not just a decade or two ago, that would have predicted its demise with all the other media that there is out there, but radio has fit almost every type of media that has come along perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, radio seems like it's the medium that I think in one form or another is pretty much here to stay. I mean, at some point it may evolve into some sort of, kind of like we're doing here, where it's more of like a digital audio medium, not necessarily maybe a radio wave thing. But I think the audio medium is here to stay one way or the other, only because of the fact that it is more moldable than pretty much any other medium out there. Because once something's in print, it stays in print. And yeah, it can be read multiple times, but with radio, you can basically, it can shift with the conversations, with the times. It just seems like it's such more of a malleable medium, I guess. And it's one of the things that's always intrigued me about it. And it's what eventually led me to figure out a way to do all of this, is because I've always been intrigued by it. And it's just fun to be on this side of it as of now, especially with as quickly as we've started to grow. But I guess that's enough about that. Now, you did send me a column. I did have a chance to read it before I attempted to start trying to call you today, before the host monkey reared his ugly head again. But anyway, so your most recent column was Debate or Roast. And I have to admit, I was intrigued by the entire column, because there are things that you'd pointed out that I had kind of thought myself, but couldn't, again, I know you hear this a lot, but, from everybody, you said it in a way that I knew what I wanted to say, but I wasn't quite sure how to get there. And then I read your column, I was like, that's basically what I was thinking. Now, it hasn't changed my thought process with Trump very much, but I don't like the way he was treated at the debate. I think it became an attack session. And to me, that doesn't seem like that's what Fox was founded for.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit different perspective again, Rick. But I have to stand back and look at those big components, the big moving parts of what I'm seeing in front of me, and kind of project that out over time, so that I can look at it without getting caught up in some of the smaller, more salacious stuff that's gone on. And my view of Trump has developed as he has developed. And I think he's a good student, and I think by the end of this process, if he's there till the end of the process, he will be, instead of the novice politician, he will probably be the best politician out of the group. And what I mean by that is he'll learn quickly what he needs to say, when he needs to say it, and how he needs to say it. He's going to moderate his stance now that he's got a lot of attention, bring in some more mainstream voters, get his policies out there. Some people aren't going to like his policies. Donald Trump is not the most conservative Republican candidate running in this race, but I still believe that mechanically, dynamically, he's probably a person that if you got in there could move us a step closer to more conservative governance, because he would get a few things done. The intellectual giant, Ted Cruz, who I really love and would love to see as president, is hated by the establishment Republicans almost as much as Trump is, in a different way. And I'm not sure how effective he could be, but obviously there's a lot of factors that play into that. So I think all in all, I do see a little hope here. Even just by having the first debate, it made me feel, at least for a second, like we were turning a corner and just maybe advancing, and that, Barack Obama, please, is on his way out.
Well, definitely hope that happens. Now, as far as your take on Trump, I think you and I disagree there a little bit, and that's fine. That's one of the things that I love about being a conservative, is we don't have to be in lockstep with everybody, and it doesn't usually turn into a fist fight because we disagree with each other. I don't know if Trump's going to be there all the way through. I think for the moment he's serving a good purpose, and it brings me back to another guest that I've had recently. Actually had him on again last night, Dr. Randy Arrington, who wrote a column comparing Trump to a character from an old Star Trek, the original series character, the Squire of, I think it was the Squire of Gothos is what he was called. But basically that, Trump was basically a child of the gods, bored with his time, and basically toying with the idea of becoming president, and that eventually the adult gods in the room were going to come in, take all of his toys away, and he was going to have to go home. Now, that's an interesting analogy. I'm not sure it fits entirely, but I don't know if he's in this for the long haul. I have to admit that's been my concern with him all along, and one of the things that's always kind of kept me from being any more supportive is the fact that I get the feeling that at some point, if things don't go exactly the way he wants them to go, he might split off and go third party. And I'm terrified of that, to be honest, because anytime that ever happens, when we get a strong third party candidate, it's still not strong enough to win the election, and all it does is basically tilt everything in the Democratic Party's favor. So that's my fear when it comes to Trump.
Well, that's a reasonable fear, but you're talking about a situation I feel is unlikely to happen, and the reason that he's so adamant about keeping that leverage, as he calls it, as far as going third party goes, is there's 15 states that can keep him off the ballot. Now, if he's going to have to tackle these basically one by one, he's probably going to need the help of Reince Priebus to go ahead and help to greenlight him to get him on the ballots in those states. If that was not a factor, if those 15 states weren't kind of the sort of Damocles hanging over Trump's head, it'd be very unlikely that you would be hearing much, if any, third-party talk out of Donald Trump. He's not doing it out of spite. He's not doing it just because he can. He's not doing it just because he's a businessman. This is a mechanical function of the race that he's in. So he keeps saying, I want to be treated fairly. What he really means by that is, I want to be put on those ballots in those states. And, as those states either caucus or we're actually voting or whatever it may be, that he's recognized as a candidate. Because if he has the highest rating, so to speak, and he's ahead of everybody, and the Republican Party just says, no, we don't want you to be the candidate, I don't know if that would cause him to run third party either. He might think that's so unfair that he would do it there. But I think his bigger concern is he's being on the ballot in these states. So he's holding on to that. And as far as the debate goes, I heard a lot of chat from the moderators of that debate for a day or two before it happened, and they were talking about their big plans and how they're going to structure things. And Chris Wallace was very keen on trying to take the credit for, well, we decided, we're going to ask in a million different ways, but we decided let's just ask who's going to raise their hand, that if they might run third party. And, television is a visual medium as opposed to radio, and he stood there in the middle of that crowd and raised his hand. And to a lot of people, not to everybody, and I'm not even saying to me, I'm just saying the visual itself, it looked like it was Donald Trump against the world, against the Republican Party, against the Democrats, for the people, and raised his hand, and it looked like, oh, well, that's the guy that's going to be president, the one guy that raised his hand. Now, I'm not saying that's true for everybody. I'm just saying that TV can kind of give you that visual impression sometimes.
Very interesting take on it. Again, like I said, I've always been on the fence with Trump. I think, like I said, and I've said this before, and the moment that you're talking about where he raises his hand, I have to admit that's actually the moment where he lost me. He lost what little bit of hope that I had, only because at this point, and I understand why he did what he did. I mean, believe me, I'm a businessman. I understand exactly why he did what he did. But I think that was not necessarily the time or the place to have done that. There's another time for you to say, hey, things haven't gone the way I wanted them to, so yeah, I'm just going to do what I got to do at this point. And he could have done that a different way. He could have done it at a different time. He could have just said, at this point in time, I'm just not even going to answer that question, because it's not even in the realm of possibility right now. So there's no point in me even touching that, because it's not anything I plan on doing. But that doesn't mean it may not happen another time. And I like I said, my biggest thing with Trump is the things that I've noticed that go on with his social media account. I think maybe I spend too much time in social media, but I mean, I have to. I don't even necessarily like it, but I have to. And the issue is, I've noticed things like white supremacist groups that he tends to retweet before he ever even... I don't even think he realizes who they are. But as soon as they say something that's Trump positive, all of a sudden it's retweeted everywhere. And then you go look at their timelines, and it's people that are all spouting all this white power rhetoric. And it disturbs me that seems like that's the biggest part of the group, that it seems like, at least social media presence-wise, that he's reaching, that he's managing to tap into. Because we have enough divisiveness going on. And I understand that a large segment of the Conservative Party is very angry right now. And I completely understand that. But I think if we spend too much time dwelling on that we lose the fight as a whole. And I think maybe Trump is taking things in the wrong direction. But who knows? Maybe I'm just getting old.
Well, there's a few things there. One is Trump is one of these bigger-than-life American characters, so I'm rather enjoying it, because when he kissed and made up with Fox News, all of a sudden everybody on FNC was happy and smiling again, seemed halfway normal. And the other thing is that question at the debate, they hyped themselves, they hyped the debate, and you're right, the question could have been asked in a much different format. During one of the normal questions, asked him and said, we know that you've talked about this before, the possibility of a third run or whatever, and he could have explained himself instead of being put in the position, Rick, of being on stage as the spectacle of holding up his hand. And the other thing is that that he is taking some of the angst of American voters, okay? And they're not happy with a lot of people. He is not the most conservative, as I say. I think he's a person that might be able to get something done. So on the other side of the populist coin, as we've talked about before, from Barack Obama, who had hope and change and never ran a lemonade stand, you have a guy with a $10 billion company that's basically saying, I'll give you some hope and change, and I actually know how to get a few things done. So in that sense, I think that it's a legitimate campaign that's growing more legitimate every day. Is there a ceiling to his popularity? That's a possibility. But really, if you just took it on the trajectory that he is right now, Rick, he's going to get the nomination to become president. That on this trajectory. I'm not saying that trajectory won't change. More than likely it will. But we have a confluence of events here. We have the truth coming out, Rick. We have the truth coming out about Lois Lerner at the IRS, about Clinton in her emails, about Benghazi, and we have Donald Trump in very plain language pointing out some pretty obvious faults of our political system. As far as the social media goes, I really doubt that it's Donald Trump retweeting all that stuff personally. As you know, the way he's probably running things, he's probably got volunteers that are putting that stuff out. And you're right, it is ignorant and it's a misstep to quote things from groups like that. But all politicians make mistakes, and I don't like the idea of everybody, as I said in the article, suddenly pretending that all politicians are pure as the driven snow and holier than thou, except for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do see your point there, because it's not like every other politician on the planet has been innocent, so to speak. Now, I have something that I hadn't played yet on this show. I played it on Saturday with when I did Finding Common Ground with Bryce. I'm going to give you my honest take on how Donald behaved on the debate in about 49 seconds. And to be honest, you're probably not going to like this, but I got to play it anyway.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
8,737,540,000.
And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me. We need quickness and we need brain in this country.
That's all, folks.
About these other things. By the way, I haven't heard anybody on Facebook or Twitter or TV or in print or anything certainly recant or certainly defend or say that the comments about Rosie O'Donnell weren't true. Haven't seen one word of that. But anyhow, so if you went into that debate knowing that that person was sitting there, that you had been friends with over the years, you go on their show, all this kind of stuff, but they just decide to hit, kneecap Rick Robinson right off the bat. I'm not sure your reaction, or at least your apprehension, wouldn't be equal to maybe that of somebody like Donald Trump's.
Well, let me give you my take on that. And again, maybe I'm just being simplistic. And then we may need to back up for a second, because I just realized about 45 seconds of what you said did not actually translate out on the broadcast. So right now we're kind of picking up in the middle of a conversation. But anyway,
okay.
Back to what you said a moment ago. My gut reaction when Trump reacted the way that he did, perfectly understandable from a human perspective. My issue is, though, I think we as a conservative group have forgotten how the press typically treats a conservative president on a daily basis. And if he's going to get that ruffled over something that Megyn Kelly said, that, as you mentioned, was something from 20 years ago, I mean, to me, it he took something, and I know they made it personal, but the issue is, as president, he's going to be dealing with personal attacks all day, every day from the press, and he's going to have to find a way to do that without coming across like there's no other way to put it, like an asshat, because that's exactly what he came across as when he took it to the point where, up until now I've been nice to you, but I guess I really shouldn't have to be based on the way that you're treating me right now. Because, I mean, you could even hear the crowd turn on him at that point. Even if it was just for that split second, they were like, I can't believe he just said that. And that's another point where he lost me, because the thing that concerns me is if he can't maintain his composure with a cream puff like Megyn Kelly. I mean, let's face it, it's Megyn Kelly, and we want to put this guy in the same room with Putin? I don't think. I mean, granted, we could make him pay his own bail money, but it would still be an international incident. I'm pretty sure we would have problems.
Well, I have a feeling he'd get along a lot better with Putin than Megyn Kelly. Like I said, Megyn Kelly went out there on Fox News, the worst report ever on Fox, and basically breathlessly accused him of rape like it happened 5 minutes ago off of some old court documents. It was absolutely horrible. So his apprehension or dislike for her, I don't blame him. I don't think he's going to conduct himself in that manner. I think he's going to moderate. And what you have, Trump is a hybrid. Basically what you have in the policies that are coming out and the way he talks about some things, you have this compassionate conservative that the Republican Party has been saying forever will win, that never win. Okay, they never win, I get that. But packaged in a way that is exuding some of the anger of the more conservative people. He's going to moderate. He's going to get that base that he woke up. He's going to moderate. He's going to move to the middle. It's the most classic move in politics. You can go back as far as you want. Okay, and that is going to garner him more votes, and he is going to come out with the policy just for the fact he's already willing to talk to Art Laffer and Forbes, and Ford Motor Company is already thinking their position in Mexico already makes him a better president than Barack Obama, Rick. Okay, so when you're saying you're worried about what he'll do, he probably doesn't respect Megyn Kelly. He might respect Putin a little bit more and deal with him more on a different level. And quite frankly, I thought she got exactly what she deserved. I see what people say about the pettiness or the fighting back or he can't handle it or he doesn't have the temperament. It isn't much about temperament. It is that he just basically slays his opponents right off the bat and then he kind of moves on. And there's not too many people that could have just picked up the phone either and called Roger Ailes or had Roger Ailes call him and say, well, let's bury the hatchet and move on from here, because Trump was single-handedly going to increase MSNBC, CNN's ratings, everything like that, and bury Fox over a period of time. So I think that there's something to be said for that. And if someone's unfair to you, I learned a long time ago the only person that's going to defend you is yourself.
Yeah, I can see your point there. Now, I guess things have changed for me a little bit because Trump has actually moved on to the point now where he's starting to outline some of what he feels his policy should be. I'm intrigued by some of the things that he says from a business perspective, because I think one of the things, honestly, that he's saying, though, is terrifying me, because he was saying things like, if he was president, what we should have done was went in, basically wiped the floor with Iraq and then taken all the oil. Now he's saying the same thing about Iran. Is that something that you honestly think would be feasible, or is at this point is he just trying to get people's attention? Because it seems to me that's kind of a scary thing to even hint about.
Well, it's an oversimplistic version of it. Traditionally, America, one of the noble things about our military around the world is we may have established lanes in the sea and on land for trade through war sometimes and acquisition to a certain point. We don't usually take countries or resources. We're not imperialistic historically in that sense. I do believe at the beginning of the Iraq War, everybody was saying, well, what will happen is that there'll be a great democracy and we'll do all these oil deals, and then they'll end up paying for the cost of America. I don't know how you pay for lost lives exactly, but they'll end up paying monetarily for the cost of America being in the war. And that never happened. So when he says take the oil, he means profit from the oil. He means a percentage. He doesn't, if Iraq remains a country, which is really questionable at this point, Rick. He isn't going to take every drop of their oil. He's going to get them to pay so that we can take care of our servicemen, our veterans, the people the families that lost loved ones over there, that type of thing. He knows very well you can wipe out one of those plants, bring in an oil company, secure a perimeter, and rebuild that thing and start pumping again. He wants to take it away from ISIS. He wants to cut off the money flow from ISIS, from the banks, and I think that right now Obama is probably having a little bit of success with his bombing missions as far as tamping down ISIS. Maybe there won't be an ISIS if Donald Trump or someone else becomes president. I hope there isn't. But it's as good a plan as any to combat what's going on. That's where I can't get caught up in the minutia about Megyn Kelly when there's pictures on the internet of 6-year-old Christian girls having their heads cut off. I don't care about freaking Megyn Kelly.
Touche, sir. Touche. Good counter to that one. And yeah, like I said, I can see your point. I think at this point we are kind of splitting hairs. And, like I said, he may not be my first choice. But, I mean, if he gets the nod, he's definitely going to get my vote. I would have less difficulty voting for him than I would either Bush or Christie. Much less difficulty. We actually talked about that. I think it was you I talked about that with last week, where if it came down to polling...
Yes, we did. I think that's an interesting. Take. We never get any perfect candidates, and I just think we're in real trouble. And maybe we're in an emergency, and maybe the guy that comes by on the boat doesn't look like the most savvy guy, the guy you'd like to sit down and have. He looks a little sketchy, but he's got a really nice life preserver that he can toss you very easily. And I just wonder whether it's being so pure about how conservative someone is or being so pure about who Trump is, those type of things. In this emergency, I just wonder if we really won't grab the life preserver. Someone's going to have to tell me how this guy will be a worse president than Barack Obama, which we barely survived. I think would be the opposite of Obama. I don't think Trump has the intellectual historical depth about who Wilson was or Teddy Roosevelt or all this stuff I get completely engrossed in. I don't think he has a clue, but I do think he has a clue about the spirit of America, what makes the country run, and that if he gets a lot of middle-class people jobs and gets things running, these issues we've been so obsessed with, Rick, they're going to go to the wayside because he's going to be running the government and people are going to be back to running their own lives, which for me would be huge.
Yeah, I can see that point. Okay, so we spent most of the show talking about Trump. We're down to about 10 minutes. So let's take him off the table for a moment. As far as between the two debates, not counting Trump, who do you think the front runners are aside from Trump as of that last debate performance for both sets?
Well, I was prejudiced going in about who I liked, and that was Cruz and Walker, and I really like Jindal. I don't think he has a chance. I really like Jindal. Carly Fiorina, I knew she was going to get a bump because she's a very good, deliberate speaker, very clear, very much conservative, talks the kind of Americanism I like to hear. Okay, I don't think she's going to get as much traction or as much of a bump as everybody thinks out of that debate. But I really have to go to Ted Cruz, and I hear lots of complaints about the way he speaks or his delivery or this or that. I don't get that. It's not something. I mean, I cannot stand to listen to Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. I'll listen to Ted Cruz for 8 years, and he is very much a constitutional conservative. He is just as much of an outsider in his own way as Carson, Fiorina, and Trump are, and all four of them have really shown well in the polls.
Yeah, I think they are definitely my front runners as of right now, and I still have to leave Trump in the list only because at this point, like I said, he's starting to round out some of his policies, and I like some of the things that he's starting to say. One of the other things that intrigued me that he actually talked about with an interview on Sean Hannity last night was how if he's president, he's going to make sure Mexico basically pays for building the wall. And he's like, why wouldn't they? We give them tons of money, so they can either build the wall or we can stop giving them money. I was like, that's an interesting approach.
Well, I know a lot of people have complained about that statement, but look, if Mexico wants to bring a barrel of oil over the border and they're making X amount of money on it, okay, and Trump says, you can bring the oil over, but you're going to give me $1.50 on each barrel, they're going to pay him. If we have given hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to aid to Mexico, and the Mexican officials down there, we've given it to them for border security, by the way, Rick, and they don't use it for that. So the corrupt Mexican officials down there, they get two checks. They get one from El Chapo, and they get one from the U.S., and then that's how they get wealthy, because they never take the money from the U.S. and put it where it's supposed to go, because money is fungible, as everybody knows. So when Trump says, I'm not going to give you any more aid to fight your border security down there because you're not doing a good job, so I'm going to cut that off. All of a sudden, that corrupt politician in Mexico City that's running the whole darn country is only going to get half his paycheck. And the next thing you're going to see is him out stumping saying, we need to build this wall and have good relationships with the United States of America so that he can get his check again from America, the corrupt money that will not go into fighting drug trafficking or protecting the border, and he can line his pockets again. And at that point, the tariffs on the oil are going to seem like nothing. Now, maybe that's too big for Trump to say in a debate. Maybe that's too complicated for some people to avoid. But this is what he means when he says, I guarantee you 100% they will pay, because he knows how to make a deal. And, Rick, that is how the deal will look.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, now that he's actually starting to outline his policies, I'm not as angry with him as I was. I still, like I said, I'm curious to see if he's actually going to stay in long enough to actually make it all the way through to the big show, so to speak. But I guess only time will tell. Now, one last question. We're going to change gears for about the last 6 minutes before we really got to get out of here, because I got to make room for Red Nation Rising. The big story that's breaking with Clinton. I've been hearing some different things. I know there's a lot of folks that think, her next stop will be, instead of Hillary for president in 2016, it'll be Hillary for prison 2016. I don't think so. I think she's got way too much dirt in way too many different places, and I think at some point she's going to manage. I don't know if she'll make the presidency at this point, but I think she still might manage to lick her wounds a little bit and go slink off into a corner somewhere. What do you think?
I think that there's three big components to this. One is that Barack Obama got on a plane and said, I'm going on vacation. DOJ, take Clinton out because I'm going to put Biden in to continue my legacy because she's going to ruin my legacy. If Biden's in there and he does well, because you really only have to do about 5 things to make the country turn around, Rick. It's not as complicated as everybody thinks. You do those 5 things, we're back in the saddle. Okay, America's not lost. Okay, and if Biden was even to come close to doing those things and turn it around, Obama could say, see, those policies I started planting to succeed, the seeds for all this success. Okay? So he wants to take Clinton out. Now, I have to admit, Rick, I have spent the day indulging in, Hillary in the orange pantsuit type of thing and, kind of that conservative, boy, oh boy, the Clintons are finally going to get theirs. Yeah, by tonight, I'm probably with you on that. I'm like, it's not going to happen. But, I just don't know how many crimes you do get to commit over a 40-year period without really having to pay for them. And who knows, Rick, maybe this could be it.
Well, who knows? But, speaking of Hillary for Prison 2016, we have a new sponsor that I'll be announcing here in the next few weeks as soon as the supplies come in. And what we're going to have is some T-shirts that we're going to start being able to give away to listeners. And one of those will be a Hillary for Prison 2016 shirt, and it's orange and everything. It's kind of awesome. So as soon as I know exactly how many we're getting and we get them in and get everything sorted, we'll start setting up the rules for the contest for folks. And so we'll put out a big announcement about all of that. All right, so we are getting down pretty close to the end. Why don't you go ahead and remind folks where it is they can find you, should they want to interact with you. Remind them where they can find your book, where your columns are published, all that fun stuff.
Okay, the columns, the latest one we just talked about, Debate or Roast, is at Magic City Morning Star. It's an online newspaper. You can go to magiccitynews.com. Very easy to get to. You can put in my name, Patrick J. Fornari, and about a dozen columns will come up. that I've submitted to them. And the book, of course, at Amazon Books, very easy to get. You can download an ebook instantly or get a paperback delivered to you quite quickly. It's inexpensive, and it's short enough for working people to read. And like I always say, to give people the true idea of what America is supposed to be. And I've been getting a tremendous response to the book, and part of that is because of you, Rick. So I just want to thank you again for letting me chat with you and expose the book to people.
Yeah, no, and the work's all yours, brother. I'm just helping you get a couple of platforms put together so you can help put the word out. I have to admit, for anybody who hasn't read it yet, I do recommend that you pick it up. I actually got a copy before we did the interview, and I put it away in about 2 days. And it wasn't even an extended read. It was basically about 10 or 15 minutes and a couple of different sessions here and there throughout one of my Saturdays, and then I finished it off on a Sunday night right before I went to bed. And it's a great read, so I do recommend picking it up if you want to get an idea of what it truly means to be a working class person in this country, and it is basically exactly what it says it is. It's a working person's guide to America. So it's a great read. Now, at this point, we are going to have to go ahead and start changing gears to make room for Red Nation Rising Radio. The fastest-growing social media movement has now taken to the internet airwaves, and they'll be here in just a little bit, actually about 7 minutes. So, at this point, I do want to go ahead and say, do hope you have a great night, Patrick. We need to set this up again sometime soon. This is now 2 times in a row with the host monkey, so I need to get him a better cage. Because, yeah, technical issues 2 weeks in a row, little rough.
Well, that's okay, Rick. We'll have plenty of time to discuss some of the interesting things that I'm sure are on our immediate horizon.
All right. Yeah, I look forward to getting together and doing this again sometime in the near future. As I've said the last couple of shows, anytime you want to come back on, you are more than welcome. It's been great getting to know you a little more. We've done more than just the standard one interview and then moving on. It's interesting to bring you back on because it seems like every time I do, you have either a slightly different take or you've expounded on something that you mentioned during a previous show. And I really enjoy those type of interviews. So I just want to thank you again for coming on. And again, folks, if you haven't yet, I do highly recommend picking up the book. It is worth the read. That is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails, folks. I will be back with you live right here tomorrow on Friday. That's right. We finally almost made it. One more day and we've hit the weekend. Then, of course, it'll be time for Finding Common Ground with myself and Bryce Robbins, where we go toe-to-toe and discuss policy. Back with you soon, folks. Have a great night.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.